Most people spend their whole lives searching for meaning, unaware that some symbols don't need to be searched for, they find you. And when they do, they show up at the strangest times, in a dream, in a conversation you barely remember, or even in a moment of frustration you thought no one else saw. He always says that's the universe's way of nudging people who've been living without a map for too long, especially the ones who feel stuck, lost, or strangely out of place. And here's the twist, the symbol that finds you isn't random, it's coded into your story long before you notice it. He loves pointing out the paradox that frustrates so many seekers: the harder you look for answers, the further they run, but when you stop obsessing, the real key appears right under your nose. That's why the ancient ones insisted the lost key of creation was never really lost, humanity simply forgot how to recognize it. This symbol works like an initiation, tapping you on the shoulder when you're finally ready to see what's been shaping your life behind the scenes. And once it appears, it doesn't just change what you know, it changes who you are becoming. He often tells people that the symbol doesn't arrive wrapped in light or carved in stone. It shows up through patterns you keep ignoring, repeated numbers, recurring dreams, familiar emotions in unfamiliar moments. You think it's coincidence, right until everything starts lining up too perfectly to dismiss. And here's where the real intrigue begins. Once this symbol reveals itself, it unlocks a part of your consciousness that's been dormant, as if it's been waiting for your permission to wake up all along. And just like that, one quiet moment becomes the turning point you never expected. Because if one symbol can find you, what else has been trying to reach you this whole time? He often tells people that if they could see what ancient civilizations saw, they'd stop doubting their own intuition overnight. Buried inside temples, carved into stones, and encoded in chants is a kind of higher dimensions map that was never supposed to reach the average person. It wasn't about geography, it was about consciousness and how it travels. You can almost imagine an Egyptian scribe smirking while hiding the last piece of the puzzle. And honestly, once someone senses even a fragment of this forbidden spiritual truth, their old worldview starts shaking. He loves to use the analogy of a city with underground tunnels. Everyone walks on the streets believing they understand the place, while a secret network hums beneath their feet. That's exactly how this hidden map works. It reveals layers of existence stacked over each other like transparent sheets. When he first stumbled upon this idea through a dusty book on Thoth wisdom, it hit him like a plot twist he didn't see coming. It made him wonder how many things were purposely erased to keep people walking only on the streets. And when people ask him why this map matters, he usually points to their own experiences. Have you ever felt like life nudged you in a direction you didn't choose logically? He asks. Those nudges often come from layers of reality most folks don't even know they're interacting with. Understanding that makes someone far less afraid of their own inner world. It also makes them question who decided humanity should forget about the higher dimensions map in the first place. He likes giving practical steps, so he often suggests that beginners start by reading old myths with a new lens, not as stories, but as coordinates. The Mayans, Egyptians, Vedic seers, they were all describing the same structure, just with different symbols. If someone journals after reading these texts, patterns start popping up, almost like little breadcrumbs. Those patterns hint at a forbidden spiritual truth that was tucked away behind metaphors. And once a person sees those breadcrumbs, well, they start wondering what else is hiding behind the next door in reality. And speaking of doors, once you start noticing these hidden layers, you'll inevitably ask yourself what these higher dimensions really are, and why they matter more than you think. He always says that people misunderstand higher dimensions because they picture them like distant planets. But higher dimensions aren't places you travel to, they're frequencies you tune into, like shifting to a clearer radio signal. When he first realized this, it felt like someone handed him a cleaner version of the higher dimensions map. Suddenly, déjà vu, intuition, and those strange dream flashes made perfect sense. They weren't random, they were messages from layers of reality humming right beside this one. He explains it like adjusting the brightness on your phone. The screen was always capable of more light, but you didn't know you could slide the bar higher. That's exactly how awareness works when someone taps into forbidden spiritual truth. it expands effortlessly once you know where the slider is. And according to old Thoth wisdom, each dimension adds a new, brightness setting to your perception. The more you adjust, the more the universe stops looking chaotic and starts looking beautifully organized. People often tell him they feel off, like something's missing in their life, and he smiles because he knows that feeling well. It's the discomfort of living in a 3D mindset while your inner self is trying to access a 12D world. That's why intuition feels like a tug and dreams feel like coded messages. Higher dimensions influence memory, emotion, and spiritual gifts more than most people realize. They're like silent co-authors of your life story. And once someone spots those clues, they begin to understand just how incomplete the old map of reality really was. He loves giving practical examples, so he usually recommends simple awareness exercises. For instance, paying attention to repeating symbols or numbers is often the first nudge that the higher dimensions map is waking up inside you. Or keeping a dream log, because patterns in dreams are the earliest hints of forbidden spiritual truth resurfacing. Even 5 minutes of quiet breathing can shift your vibration enough to feel the difference. And when someone feels that shift for the first time, they start wondering what invisible structure is shaping all this. And that curiosity naturally leads to a bigger question: what if reality has a hidden architecture, one that science never fully acknowledged? He often tells people that mainstream science is brilliant, but it's also a bit like a traveler who stopped halfway up the mountain and assumed the view was complete. Ancient systems, on the other hand, climbed higher and documented what they saw through symbols, geometry, and myth. Those symbols weren't just pretty drawings, they were fragments of a higher dimensions map meant to guide perception. When he discovered that, it felt like stumbling onto a forbidden spiritual truth hidden in plain sight. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. He likes comparing the universe to a massive architectural project. The macrocosm is the blueprint, and the microcosm, your own body, is a scaled-down model of it. That's why the chakra system, the tree of life, and the Merkaba look like pieces of the same puzzle, because they are. They're different languages describing the same dimensional structure. And if you read old texts through the lens of Thoth wisdom, the overlaps become too precise to dismiss as coincidence. A lot of people think they're disconnected from the universe, but he loves showing them how false that is. He'll point out how your breath forms geometric patterns in slow motion, or how your emotions follow rhythmic cycles just like solar tides. These aren't random quirks, they're reflections of the forbidden architecture humming through everything. He tells them that when they feel déjà vu or sudden clarity, it's the higher dimensions map trying to surface in their awareness. And that realization alone can shift someone's sense of identity. In practical terms, he often suggests beginners start studying simple sacred geometry, not to memorize shapes, but to observe how those patterns appear everywhere. Look at a pine cone, a sunflower, the spiral of a fingerprint, all carrying the same structure found in ancient diagrams. Journaling these observations makes the map feel alive instead of theoretical. And once people connect these dots, they begin sensing that reality is layered, intentional, and far stranger than science currently teaches. And that's exactly why the next question becomes inevitable: if this structure is so important, why was it erased, and who benefited from hiding it? He often says that if people realized how much power they naturally carry, entire systems of control would collapse overnight. And that's exactly why the higher dimensions map had to be buried, not because it was untrue, but because it was too true. Higher realms aren't just spiritual ideas, they're the operating system behind intuition, memory, and manifestation. Anyone who understands even a fragment of this forbidden spiritual truth becomes harder to manipulate. And historically, the world hasn't been too fond of uncontrollable humans. He likes using the analogy of a locked library. Inside it are books that explain how to heal the body, bend perception, and remember past lifetimes. Those books represent the higher realms, accessible, but hidden behind gates guarded by fear, dogma, and distraction. Religions broke the knowledge into fragments. Science dismissed what couldn't be measured. And systems of power kept people looking downward instead of upward, afraid someone might stumble across Thoth wisdom and decode the whole structure. When people ask him why accessing higher realms matters, he tells a story from his own life. Once, during a period of intense meditation, he kept experiencing the same symbol in dreams, a symbol he'd never seen before. Later, he discovered it in an old manuscript describing dimensional travel. That moment made him realize that higher realms communicate whether you're ready or not. They whisper through synchronicity, déjà vu, and the emotional pull you can't explain. And that's why those in power feared people learning to listen. On a practical level, he encourages people to question the narratives they grew up with. Not in a rebellious way, but in a curious way, the way a scientist questions a strange pattern on a graph. Keeping a journal of intuitive hits, strange dreams, or repetitive symbols is a simple way to start reconnecting with what's been erased. Over time, these pieces begin aligning, revealing a faint outline of the hidden map. And once someone senses that outline, they naturally begin searching for where the real map has been hiding all along. And that search leads to the next realization: the map was never fully lost, because the most important copy has always been inside you. He often explains that the body isn't just biology, it's architecture, designed like a living antenna tuned to multiple layers of reality. Your subtle body holds the same structure described in ancient texts, almost like a personal copy of the higher dimensions map. When he first discovered this, it felt like stumbling onto a forbidden spiritual truth that had been hiding in his own chest the whole time. And that's when he realized, people aren't disconnected, they're just unaware of the signal. Once you know the signal exists, tuning into it becomes way easier than expected. He loves using a simple analogy: imagine your consciousness as a house with many rooms. Most people only ever walk through the living room, unaware that a dozen locked doors sit upstairs. Practices like deep meditation, breathwork, and astral projection aren't mystical hobbies, they're keys that unlock those rooms. Once you open even one, intuition sharpens, dreams become clearer, and symbols appear with uncanny precision. And according to old Thoth wisdom, that's the moment the higher dimensions map begins unfolding from within. People often ask him how to tell if they're opening these internal access points, and he always gives the same practical advice. Pay attention to dream recall, even fragments carry clues. Notice sudden insights that pop into your mind uninvited, or symbols that repeat in the most random places. These aren't coincidences, they're the language of higher realms communicating through your inner architecture. Journaling these moments helps the pattern emerge, revealing a blueprint that was always there. He also suggests small, actionable steps anyone can take. For example, practicing 5 minutes of pineal gland breathing in the morning, a slow inhale through the nose, focusing attention on the center of the skull, and a longer exhale through the mouth. Or using frequency audios tuned to 432 Hz or 963 Hz during quiet moments. These simple habits amplify the internal signal and make the forbidden spiritual truth easier to perceive. And once someone feels the first ripple of that internal map, they start wondering what life looks like when they live fully aligned with it. And that curiosity naturally opens the doorway to the next question: what happens when someone starts living with full awareness of this multidimensional blueprint? He tells people that once they reconnect with the higher dimensions map, life stops feeling like a series of accidents and starts feeling like a coordinated dance. Every choice they make sends ripples through layers of reality, not just the physical one. He compares it to dropping a pebble into a lake. The splash is 3D, but the waves reach dimensions they can't see. When someone realizes that, they stop acting out of fear and start acting out of intention. And that's when the forbidden spiritual truth becomes a lived experience, not just a concept. He likes to explain this shift with a relatable example. Imagine waking up already knowing which decision feels lighter, almost as if someone left breadcrumbs for you overnight. That's how guidance works when higher realms finally become part of your awareness. Reality responds faster, synchronicities multiply, and intuition stops feeling mysterious. According to old Thoth wisdom, this is the state where the universe becomes a collaborator instead of a puzzle. People often describe it as the moment life starts talking back. When people experience this, they begin noticing time differently, more flexible, more fluid, almost negotiable. He loves using the analogy of bending sunlight through a crystal. The light was always straight, but the crystal shows its hidden colors. In the same way, higher awareness reveals layers of reality that were always influencing them. Moments of clarity feel stronger. Déjà vu becomes instructional. And emotional signals start functioning like compass needles guiding them toward the next step on the lost map. He enjoys giving practical exercises to help people live this blueprint day to day. He might suggest setting a small intention each morning, something simple like, "Guide me to what I need today." Then he tells them to watch what symbols, songs, or random comments appear in their path. These microsignals often align with the higher dimensions map trying to guide their next move. And once someone notices how responsive reality becomes, they start sensing that this blueprint isn't mystical theory, it's the operating system behind everything. And with that, you're ready for the next phase. He often reminds people that knowledge only becomes power when it's lived, not just understood. Everything you discovered here, the symbols, the map, the whispers of higher realms, only truly transforms your reality when you take the first step and apply it. So ask yourself, what signs have been following you lately? What dreams keep repeating? What inner pull have you been ignoring because it didn't make sense? These questions aren't random, they're invitations. Now that you know how the multidimensional blueprint works, what are you going to do with it? Will you keep navigating life on autopilot, or will you start decoding the patterns that have been waiting for your attention? Even the smallest action, journaling a strange dream, following a sudden intuition, or meditating for 5 quiet minutes, can open doors you didn't know existed. And once one door opens, the rest tend to follow. So let this be your reminder, creation isn't something that happens to you, it's something happening through you. And if you're brave enough to listen, those symbols will guide you far more clearly than logic ever could. Before you go, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, so you don't miss the next piece of this journey. There's a lot more waiting for you, and you'll want to be here when it arrives.